the filtering, and also the sorting. So basic filter command like the select, like the from, what it actually does, and the aggregate function like group by. So the filtering functions, we have something like the where and the having. We said that the where is used to is a conditional statement used to pick out some information. Pick out some data within the data set. And using having is normally used when we already have an aggregate. We have a function. We are stating a condition based on a function. And we said that this normally comes after we have using our aggregate function, the having, but where is used before the aggregate. Basic stuff like that. So today we'll be looking at, let me share my screen first. And we'll be looking at some important topics like join. And of course, it's something that as a data analyst, it is a must. It is very important and it's a must for you to understand this. So, and I'll do my best to explain. So, okay, before I start, I need a reaction if you can all see my screen. Reactions. If you can see my screen, just react. Just, oh, nobody's reacting. Okay, so it means you guys can see my screen. Okay. Oh, great. Good. All right, so please feel free to drop your questions along the line. Don't wait. And the reason why I always encourage people that don't wait, because something else can come in and you might forget the question you want to ask. Maybe it will now be later, you now remember that, oh, and I wanted to ask this question. So please always drop it in the chat so that after we come to a point, we can always look back and, talk about it. All right, so let's quickly run with this. And of course, it's not just presentation we'll be doing today. I'll be doing some other stuff. We'll be accessing into the RDBMS now so that we can see how this thing can work. So today we'll be looking at the SQL function and SQL functions and expression join. And it's very important for us to know how SQL functions and expression works. We should know how these things works and how to apply join clauses to connect to other tables. Basically, I've said it that SQL is very easy. It's similar to English. It's one of the programming language very similar to English that you can just guess. You already know join to bring two things together or more. So it is like that. So it's a way to connect to other tables. A very common attribute, basically. So let's go. So what we'll be looking at today is just simple: the SQL function itself, the SQL expression, the joint in SQL, and the conclusion, basically. So let's go. Now, the SQL function. Now, the SQL functions, I said it here that they are built-in operations. It's not something you have to import or develop by yourself. They're already built in. They are built-in operation that performs calculations or transformations on data. Now, you can see the word transformation. So this is where analytics comes in, especially when you are doing your data cleaning and transformation. So you will know you must be able to get familiar with this. Most people don't know that SQL is actually one of the major data cleaning tool and transformation tool. And how do we do that? You can actually bring every data in, whether it is missing or not, whether it is consistent or not, maybe through Vasha. So in the course of you sorting out, cleaning out, writing simple query to understand the nature of the data and the data structure itself, then we can, at the end of the day, you can now create a view. I'm just talking about cleaning and begin to convert each column now. Okay, before we create a view, begin to convert each column to their right data type. It's very easy. You can use something like cast or the likes. to do that. And before you know it, your data set will be in the right format, it will be clean. I'm talking about millions now, if it happens to that. And that's one of the benefits of SQL. Excel has a limited grid, has a limited grid of 1,048,560 something. Yeah, 56 or there. That's the maximum grid. So that means that if you're having a data set of 1,500, Excel grid might not be able to capture it. And so there are some organizations that deals with a large data set, maybe in the banks, in the hospital, and so on like that, or pet company. So you will be like the bank, you can be seeing them maybe within 3 days, they're already working with 10 million data sets. So you will see this is where Excel comes to, Excel might not be able to work. But in SQL can take even 50 million, 100 million, as a matter of fact. So it can accommodate that. And that is why in the data analytics world, they will be talking about SQL and maybe a bit of Python or R programming. So, but basically SQL has always been the major thing. And of course, some data warehouse tools like Snowflake, Amazon Redshift, Google BigQuery, they all leverage on SQL. And because it is designed to accommodate large data. So that is for that. So we have a top 5 SQL functions. The one that shows an aggregate function, like the group by, like the maximum, minimum, the one that shows strings function, especially if you want to count them, or maybe you want to know what is what the data is all about. Maybe you want to count from left to right. These are the strings function. Then we also have the one that is of date. Yes, that we can extract here from it. We can extract month, we can extract a lot of things, weekdays and so on and so forth. Then mathematical functions, yes, you can find it there. Then the conversion functions, probably we are trying to convert the data type to something else or convert something to this. So these are the top 5 SQL functions. So let's go. So you can see the aggregate functions here. I said it. The average is one of them. It's a way to calculate an average. So this is how you can write them. There are more. Of course, these are just an example. Sum, maximum, minimum, count. So these are just the basic things. Let me show you what I mean here. If I let me go to the RDBMS I'm dealing with here. Okay, if I said let me delete this. AVG, that is average of let me see if this can work. 7, 8, 9. I'm just trying to check it out and see if it will work on this RDBMS. Oh, it's not working. It's not working. All right. It means we have to make a reference. Okay, let's use this guy. Let's use this guy. So instead of just writing numbers here, I know it might not work, but it can work in some relational database. So let's say we want to find the average of the quantity supply. I'm just saying. So we just say quantity supplied, and you have to state where it's coming from this table. Transaction, you can say transaction is up. So if we do something, if we run it, it will show us the average in one form. And except probably we are now trying to group it with respect to some things, then we can also, okay. But this is basically how we can calculate our average. What about the sum? If we had sum to hit, I will run it to give us our value. So all these are the aggregate functions. Sum. We can even say maximum. It will show the highest quantity supply in the table. If we run it, this is the highest, 350. And minimum, so on and so forth. So that's just what we are talking about regarding average and all. So let's continue. So that is for an aggregate function. So let's move on to the string function. So the string function, like we said, it focuses directly on the information itself. So let me give us an example. This is the upper string. The same thing in Excel. If you want to put something in an uppercase, so you use a string function like upper, everything in lower, lower. Sometimes you can even create an email, especially when there is a format, especially in an organization. You can ask, okay, we have a list of customers we want to profile. So we want to use their name to create an email and put it in database. You can write a very simple query on that. If there is already an existing pattern, and just use the lowercase. These emails are always in lowercase, maybe in most cases now. Then if you want to join informations together, that is if you're having two strings, this is where you concat, you bring things together. You can use length to count or to count total number of letters. In that, we are going to see everything. Then substring is a way to sort out, it's just a way to sort out particular information from a string. Maybe you are trying to sort out some of the information, so you just have to put it in a string. But let me show us how this works. Hello, am I still audible? I need our confirmation. Let me go back to this. I need our reaction. Am I still audible? Okay. Thank you, Miss Faith. Oh, thank you, Mr. Fiesta. Thank you, Miss Wilson, Miss Formulaya. All right, confirmed. All right, so let's continue. Now, let's take this out. So we have been talking about the uppercase. Now, see how it works. So if I type select and now type uppercase, upper, and in a quote, and now type something in a small letter like let me type Datakliq. So if I put it like this and run it, it will turn this Datakliq to capital letters. You can see that's what it means. Then the lower, I change this to the lower. Of course, it is already in lower, but let me just change some of them to capital letters. Maybe something like this. So if we run it, everything will be on the lower case. All these basic things. What else again? Concat. Okay. Now concat works when you have two data you want to bring together, and this is common when probably a data set has a surname and the last name, the first name and the last name, and you are trying to bring them together. So you can type concat here, something like concat. Now this is the first name, and we'll put comma, and the second one can be the last name. But most of the time, what I used to do is we will put a space so that it will appear as if there is a space. This is a space, and we will now type the last name. And let's say Cohort or something. Cohort 6. So by the time we run it, you'll see how it's going to look like. Datakliq Cohort. Oh, I didn't put space. So let me run it again. So you can see Datakliq Cohort. So it brings all this data together. So what else do we have? Okay, length. Now, length is applicable when you are using what's the name? Postgres or MySQL. But length is what it is using SQL Server. So if let me change this, let me just delete this. Okay, let me take this to this point. Now, if I change this to length, I want to show you it will not work. It will not work. It will tell you error. It doesn't understand it because we are using SQL Server. You can see. So, but if I change it back to len, this is Microsoft SQL Server, and you run it, it will count it. 8 characters. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that is how it works. Len. Then what else again? Substring. Okay, good. Now, if we are using substring here, substring. Now, it means that we want to count, we want to specify where the counting should start. That's the first thing. So we'll put comma. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you want to start counting from 4, and or let's just say click. So let's say 5, because click this the position where this thing is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's use data. Let's use data. So it means 1, but the total character we want it to count is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll now type 4. So it will only show us data by the time we run it. This one is when we are trying to manipulate data or transform them. Probably you have noticed there is a consistency in how these data are arranged. So this is why it's very important for us to have an idea of how this works. So let's say we want to bring click, only click now. So we'll count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It started from 5. So what's the total number of characters we are trying to count? 1, 2, 3. Also 4. So good. So it will just show us click. And that is it. Very straightforward. But let's continue. So so these are the strings functions we talk about. I believe now you should have an idea of what it means. So by now, you should know that you are not meant to cram all these formulas. Please get yourself cheat sheet. In every organization, to be asking you of your cheat sheet, because they want you to focus on the creative of the work, not all this coding. And these are tech people work. So let's go. Now we have date functions. Of course, we have some. It's actually much more than this, but we just have to leave it this way. Now, we all know this also works in Excel, and this works also for Postgres, MySQL, but not for SQL Server. So in the case of SQL Server, they use get date. They use get date to know the current date. It's just something like this too, but it's going to be more detailed. So current date is what is used. That's what we have called date for Postgres. But in the case of SQL Server, you use cast, because cast of get date, then we indicate the format. We are going to try it. If you want to extract the year from the date, so you put year, extract the month, extract the day. Let's see what we have. So, for example, if I type get date, it should be able to return today's date, if I'm correct, which is this, and a timestamp rather. So it will return that. Now, if I use what was the name? Cast. If I apply cast to it, so it will only show the date properly, like without the timestamp. It will show the current date without the timestamp. Oh, it's not reading it. Oh, okay, never mind. All right, so the platform name might not be able to read some of it, but just let's continue. Now, let's say we want to extract here from this date. So if anytime you're typing a date, you have to put it in in quotes. It is only numbers that is allowed to be typed without any quotes. So, and usually date formats in SQL are always like this. Most important, it can be Postgres, it can be SQL Server. They have a very similar date format, something like this, MM and DD. So this is how the date format will look like. So once it is like that, then they will understand that, oh, this is a date. So let's change this to 2023. I'm just saying, let's change this to month 12 and date. It has to be two numbers. Let's say 08. So if we put something like this, if we run it, it should be able to give us 2023. That's it. If I change this to month and I run it, it will give us 12. You can see it's very straightforward and direct. So that is how all this thing works. You can extract date sometime, maybe from an existing date, maybe a date format, and you felt you want to create an extra column that we have the month. So you're welcome. You can always use this to do that. It's straightforward. So let's continue. So that is for the date function. We're still going somewhere. So mathematical functions. So all these ones are very common on the round. We'll be dealing with the round many times. The ceiling, the same and floor to round up. We don't normally touch this second one, but the most common ones are the round and the absolute. It's what we use every time. So the power is there to want to find something raised to power something. So the base, the one that will be the first, the big number, the exponential, the one that will be at the top. All these things are straightforward. So let's just play around with it before we move on. So if I'm to write, what's the name? Let me delete this. Select, what are we on? Round. Okay. If I type round, okay, let me type a number first. Select 223.568. If I run it, it will show us the same thing, right? Now, let's say we want to round it to two decimals or one decimal. We'll now type round in the front of it. Now, the decimal, number of decimal, let's say 1. So by the time we run it, it will approximate it to 23.6, if I'm correct. Yeah, 23.6. So it will appear like this, 23.6, and this is what it would be. So that's for round. But in a proper RDBMS, it will not include this 0. It will not turn it to 0. It will just give us 23.6 alone to understand how this platform works. So that is why it's very important for us to practice. Now, another one is the absolute, like I was talking about. Let's say we have a number that is negative 5.6999. I'm just saying. So let's run it. Now it will give us minus as usual, 0.5 point this, Now, if we put absolute turns everything to positive, whether it is negative or it is positive, it will turn them to positive. So that's what the absolute means. So just put them in the bracket. And you run it. It will turn it to positive, you can see. So that's one thing about the absolute. So now the last one is the power. We know that 2 raised to power 3 is 8. So let's see how that can be pulled out. So just type power. Oh, just the same way I pronounce it, okay? So we can just say 2, 3. That should give us 8. So in some, it gave us an idea of how we can play around. We can apply some important mathematical stuff, especially when we are trying to transform our data, create columns, do some stuff. So all these things can help us at the end of the day. So it's very important. So let's continue. Now, that is mathematical function. So it's very important we know this, and it's quite very important. If it is not clear, please let's keep dropping our questions and in the box. So conversion formulas, you can see what I was talking about the other time. If we want to change something from a format, let's say a variable character to a number, maybe when we bring them in, even though they are numbers and some of them are letters, we brought them in as a varchar. Everything, whether you're a text, whether you're a number, whether you're a date, you can come in, or even if it is empty. So after cleaning it, we have seen it that, oh, everything now is a number, but it's still acting like a text. So we can use this cast function to change it to the desired data type. Assuming I should have prepared a very dirty data that we can use and try it, especially when we are cleaning data. It's very important. So don't let us forget. Same thing also for here. Sometime convert is used. I think cast is mostly used in Postgres. Convert to works, or I think it works on SQL Server and the likes, but just try to confirm how these conversion functions will work. But it's very easy. Now, the SQL expression. So this one is just a list, and I'm going to explain them. You don't have to stress yourselves. So the expression in SQL is a combination of values, operator, functions. Yes, you can combine every one of them together when you are doing your calculations. But we are going to please do a bit of that. So that's why I didn't really go deep down to this. So, and we have several types of expression. Is it arithmetic expression? Is it string expression? In arithmetic, from our basic math now, we calculate, it enables us to do calculations, maybe the plus sign, the multiplication sign, all these things, they are there. It's just like we're saying, okay, it's just like you say 2 plus 5. We all know it's going to give us 7. So that is yes. This is an example of an arithmetic expression to do some simple calculations. 2 times 5 or 2 divided by 5. All these things, they play an important role. It's just like math. So string expression to manipulate text data, like what we have seen the other time, that we can extract name from Gmail, especially or from a company email, and begin to transform it. We can say, okay, we all know that the last company email, names can vary, yes, but we can begin to say, okay, we want to pick the last, maybe foc.org. You already know that the last text, the last length is from the at foc. You just count it at 1, f2, o3, c4, dot 5, c6, o7, m8. So it will just be on the way around, and you're able to extract the full name and begin to do some small transform. That is the string when you are trying to manipulate text data. The Boolean expression is more of like condition, either true or false. So it will come up with, okay, is this thing, especially when you are trying to use, what's the name, case and then. It's more of like if and else statement in itself. So if you are not stating what it should show, then it will write it all over and tell you, oh, true or false. So it's either true. Then date expression to a way to manipulate date values. Yes, to manipulate it, extract it, and create something from it. All this is how expression works. So the joins, this is why I'm trying to take our time so that we can, understand what this join means. This part is very, very, very important. Now, what is join? What are joins? Just the same, the way the name sounds. You know, it is used in SQL to combine rows from two or more tables based on a related column. I really use that one. Some might use, excuse me, some might use attributes, something that is common between the two. And the example I love to use is wedding. A family of one table and the family of another person, another table. You will be once you begin to see them probably planning things together, people can easily guess that oh, maybe it's their children. They are getting together. And that is the attribute, that is the related column. They found something common between the two. And by the time they merge, it becomes a very big family. And you'll now be seeing them existing at home. That is what join is all about. And that should be the most interesting topic also. Now we have types of join. We have the inner join, and I'm going to explain what it does. The left join, the right join, the full join, the sub join, the join with and aggregate functions. All these things are very, very important. Now, sometimes people made the mistakes, especially when you are trying to identify which type of join should I use. Somebody will even type any join I join. But one funny thing about SQL is that it will still give you value, but it will be wrong. So most of the time we used left join. Now inner join in what was the name? Let me show us what I'm talking about so that I just do. Now inner join return only match row between the two tables now. Only match row. And let me give us an example. Let me open an Excel. So I will just use that to explain it. Now, let's say this is a table. Let me just, because our focus is the columns between two tables. Let's say this is, let me call this food in Nigeria and foods in Ghana. I'm just trying to make sense of it so that we understand what this thing is all about. So let's say in Nigeria, we have a bar, we have pounded yam, we have jollof rice, we have fufu, what else again? We have beans. Okay, that's fine. So in Ghana, sorry, I might be making a mistake. Maybe they have I don't really know about the Ghana question, but let me just say they have I'll just be giving apologies. Let me call it 10 spa. I don't know the food. And they also have fufu, example. And they have they have um, um, let me call it Oriza special. Not so good with that special. They have jollof rice. And the last one is they have egg salad. I'm just guessing. Now, this is an assumption though. Now, let's say this is Nigerian food. This is a table that has the same item, almost the same item. So what is common between them? We have jollof, they have jollof rice, and there's also jollof rice there. We can just indicate it as okay. Let's give it this color. What is common? Fufu? Yes. There can be other informations here, other tables here, and also same thing for Nigeria. But if you are to use inner join, it will be able to bring all the informations here, 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 here together. That is the inner, because what is common between here, it only focuses on it. It will leave all this one out, to leave all this out. So that is the inner join. I don't know if that part is okay. I just try to use a very simple illustration to communicate that. So, but for left join, it's just like, let me give an example. And I'm still going to do something on that. Now, it's just like saying there is a program, and that program is an international program for, let's say, for Americans. Now, the condition is now like, if you're Americans or American, maybe an American Ghanaian or American Nigerian or African American, now they used to say it, or American Europe, but there is an element of American in you, probably one of your parents is that, then you're eligible. That is an example of left join. So that when you are having the list from the fact table now, all the information in that fact table will be returned. If I'm just putting, let me give some numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say this is a fact table. This is the Americans. Now, let me just call this. This is what the Americans. These are the Americans. Apologies. Now, and we have another table that has, let's say, no, they will call it dimension, but don't let me just go by this, but just get the idea. Where others. So we begin to see something like 8, 6, sorry, 8, 9, 3, 47, 5, and 2. Now, unlike the inner join that is only focusing on the one that matches. Now, this way, what the left join does is this. By the time you apply left join, it will bring all this, and the ones that matches with this also. That appears here. So this is what left join does. You can see 3 is also found here. 5 is also found here. 2 is also found there. So that is left join. So anytime you are referencing a table, you will know that the table it might not only be the only source. So this is the major table we are focusing on, and we are trying to extract, because you can still use left join to connect to other tables that still have information that is not here. That's why left join is very, very important. So it is the opposite of it, like everyone here, and some that are joined at the right join, but that right join we hardly use it. So I'm just trying to use this to buttress the fact. So this is how the left join is. This is how the inner join works. And I'm going to show an example also. Then the right join is more of like the opposite. So let me show you the rest. The full join, everything all together. And the join with aggregate functions is not a type, but it's kind of an application to that. So let's go. Let me just show us what I'm talking about here. Now, from this, I've been able to create some tables. You can see them from the left corner, and we can see it's kind of a project now. And what it does, what we are trying to do is that this is a sampling of a retail company. Now, what it does basically is that what we are trying to do here is that based in an organization, a retail company that buy from the manufacturer, repackage it and sell is the most common form of business now. most common form of corporate businesses that we have in the country, in anywhere rather. So let's say we have the transaction table, or let's start with the customer profile. Customer profile is just like you want to open a bank. You want to open an account in the bank. The first place they will direct you to is the customer service, and that is where they will ask you all manner of information: your girlfriend name, your grandmother name, your ID card, your passport, your signature when you're in primary one, your signature when you're in JS3. They will ask you all that because they are doing KYC, know your customer. So all the information are here. And at the end of the day, they will give you an ID. Now, why do you give ID? Why can't they just identify you by your name? The truth is, people who are also using the bank that are bearing your name exactly, they can be over 500 alone. So you don't want to confuse someone's son. You don't want to confuse someone's daughter. So the ID is enough, is unique. Once they pick the ID, nobody's taking that number again. And that is why it's easy for us when we are creating table. You can make it like this, the customer profile. Ensure it is primary key. Remember we talked about primary key, that if somebody by virtue is imputing the same ID that has been there before, it will not go. So it means that, oh, somebody is already using this ID, then you will go for another ID, or you create a new ID rather. So that's what the primary key does, to ensure that you don't have the same, to make sure that everything is unique. So that is the customer profile. Now, what about the product profile? The product tool that you are buying has to be profiled too. You should be able to tell when. You should be able to tell when these products arrive, when is it going to expire, the quantity, who is the quantity, what are we expected to do, the category of the product, and the price. So the product, just the same way the profiles, the storekeeper, the warehouse manager also profile the product. Now, let me go to transaction. Now, in the bank, once you register, you can now begin to, once you register, you can begin to transact from your account. You can use ATM, you can go to the bank here, visit the teller, okay, I need this money, or even use the POS and all, or even your mobile app. Now, something is there. There is a document, there is a table that capture all your transactions. And that's a transaction table. So you can appear multiple times, but there is always an ID that captures. This is what I mean. Let me run this one. This example. Now, the order, instead of writing all your details, including your girlfriend names and number or next of kin, they will just put this ID that is unique. So it's easy for them to use this to trace you to your customer profile. That's what it means. All they just have to do is to write your ID, and you can see the transaction ID is unique also, and it's in sequential 1000, 1001, 1002, like that. The product you are buying to, this is the ID. You can have the same name of the product, but that very batch, what makes it different is because the time they brought it, maybe they brought it January last year, and they brought the same name of the product this year. So it's different. Maybe in the function of price, a function of expiring date, and the like. So that's why product ID also is advisable. The quantity you are buying, that is you, and the percentage, maybe there's a discount for every quantity you are buying. You can see. So the date is recorded. You can see this is 2019. Oh, okay, like that. So this is how they track your information. You can appear multiple times. You can even appear maybe after the third one. It's all fine. So this cannot be a primary key, but this is a primary key. This is tracking the transaction straight. So I'm taking my time so that you can understand how this table works. So yeah, returns. There's, when it comes to humans, it's very easy to expect or anticipate that some customer might return the item. They will say, this is what I saw on, it's a very common trend on social media. They'll say what I saw on Jumia or this big e-commerce shopping, this thing. They will say what I saw, what I was delivered, and they will immediately try to return it. They will give them some working days. So there is a department for that. They call them settlement. So they don't need to write all the information here, and they don't need to come to the transaction table to delete it. Let's say they resolve it, because this will encourage fraud. Somebody will say, okay, I'm coming to delete some transaction. They will just delete some and keep the money. So the best thing is they will create another table with their ID, transaction ID, which is unique, and indicate if I type, let me type return, and if I run it, you will see all the transaction that has been returned, meaning that we have refunded the customer. We can even tell that, oh, you can see that transaction ID. This particular madam brought soja. I shop slap that day. We can begin to record and tell that, oh, this transaction was refunded. So if we are calculating, if by any venture we are trying to calculate all that transaction, you must deduct all this return, take them out first from the transaction document first before you begin to do your analysis. It's very important. So because they are still here. So it's very, now, let's say we want to know, now this is the application of the join, which we are just talking about. So let's say we want to know what are the names. We want to know the customer names here. And we'll need to remember that it means that this is the transaction table and this is the customer table. Remember, not all the customer that register in the bank. Some might just register and that's the end. Maybe they have not even done one single transaction. They will be here. And if we use inner join, sometimes it can only capture this, okay, the ones that will register. But what if we have multiple sources like this dimension, and we have another one, and have another one, we have another one? Then we'll not be able to capture it because this, or let me say, this. Okay, let me use this. This is not found here, but it's found in another table that we are joining in. So it's always at the best if we are using left join. If you are trying to find what is common between them, then the inner join is advisable like this. So let me show us. Now, let's say we want to return back their name. You can say, okay, select. Let's first of all use star. Star means all. Select all from transaction table. Now, watch. I want us to understand this. We will now say left join. Left join. What are we joining with it? Because we want to combine the two now, is a customer profile. So we'll say customer has appeared profile. Now, what is connecting them together? Don't forget, is the ID. There's a customer ID in this transaction, and there's another customer ID in this transaction. But remember, remember the story, the wedding story I was using to explaining how this thing works. It's the wedding. They are there. The two children, they have seen themselves as one. They have the same character. They're amazing. And I think that's what the wedding is all about. Marriage is all about. Once it's just somebody who share the same character, who share the same madness, they'll say, oh, this is definitely mine. And they'll come together. It's just like this. So you type on the customer ID now. The customer ID, you can see it. It's telling us from transaction, okay, equals to customer ID. Yeah, I'm just picking. Now, that's not all. We need to add their family name so that we will not confuse these guys. But we can add alias. We can type transaction table, but me, I love alias. So table alias, we can say transaction T. Okay, let's make it T. So this one too, you can give any letters, it's fine. But we have nicknamed this as T. Then this one, let's call it C. It doesn't matter. Or let me even call it X itself. So I'll know that anywhere I'm seeing X, I'll know it's from the family of customer profile. Anywhere I'm using T is from the family of transaction table, and these their children. So you can just put something like this and put T dot, meaning that is coming, this customer ID that they are the same is coming from this family. And if I now put S dot, is coming from this profile guy. Now, if I now say, okay, because I didn't specify, everything will appear, but I don't want to do that. So if I'm saying, show me all, I can easily indicate, just show me T dot all. That is only this guy. So it will still show the same thing. Just watch, by the time we run it, it will still show the same thing. But the moment I now type comma and type X dot customer name, this is it now. It's already referencing it. Is this platform, you already know what I want to do. This is now coming from the family of customer profile. You can see the X, their surname. So by the time we run it, you will see one extra column being added here. So you can see. Hold on. Oh, do you know why there is a mistake here? I supposed to put customer ID. I went to put name. My bad. Because we have another customer ID. So let's run it again. That's why it's showing up. Aha, that is it. So you can see the name of the customer. Yeah, there can be many, they can be bearing the same thing. I was telling someone that God is good venture in Lekki alone can be up to 50. In Ikeja, God is good venture alone can be up to 100. And that's the truth. So we are not just tracing it by their name, it is by their ID. So this is how left join works. But if I change this to what's the name? Because it's a single source to inner, for example, because it's a single source, it might still appear to give us the same. But if you're having a multiple source, it's not practicable. So you will have to understand the difference. The inner and the what's the name, and the ledger, because we already know that before you can even do transaction, it means you should have registered as a customer. That's why sometimes people will assume inner join works, or they will just use join. Join, we assume the inner one, but the most important one is your left. If you're having a multiple sources, this is where left join is appreciated. So don't forget, sometimes you might be getting to say, yes, it's correct now. No. And those people will tell you that no. If you're having multiple sources, if you are using inner, there will be error. So don't mistaken it. Please understand what it's all about. Left join mostly is fine. So let's continue for the sake of our time. So that is the left join, and right join is almost the same thing. So that is, you can see those queries, you can see how it is written. Right join is just opposite of the left join. So in the place, it will return back all what we have been doing. So now the full join is just like you are saying, okay, full join. We are bringing everyone together based on the same stuff. Let me just show us that. I don't want to waste our time. So if I said full join everything, now from here, this will bring every one of them will turn to this. That's full join. That's what it means. So if I run it now, everything, the data set will be bigger. Yeah, it's still showing the first one, but as we move down, you will know that something has been added. So that is the full join. It's very important and it's very cool. So let's go on. Join with the aggregate. These are just applications. Okay, let's use an example. Okay. Now let's try to know. Let's say we want to know top 10 customer that has the highest quantity supplied. Or let me use okay, let's do something like this. I don't want it to be complicated. That's why I'm trying to make it as simple and as gentle as possible. But let's just do something like this. This is not so hard. Okay, let me take this out. Let me turn it to star. Let me do something. So let's say, let me write a comment here. This is how you write a comment. Let's say we want to find top 10 customer by revenue. So let's say this is what we want to find. I'm just trying to show us the applications of how we can, find the top 10. Of course, we can do that. Now, this is the transaction table. Let's run it one more time to see everything. This guy will go. Now, we all know that revenue should be quantity supplied times unit price. And with my understanding, I know that the unit price, if I change this to product table, and if I run it, you will see the unit price there, which is this. Very good. Now, let me change this back to transaction. So first thing, it means that we need to bring a column to this. That is the unit price before we now multiply it, and create another column. So this is it. So we are also using the left join. So we say left join product table. So let's give this guy usual alias T, and let's give this guy our usual alias P. So we can now type what is connecting them together is the product profile. So is a product profile that's connecting them together. So let's say product profile equals to product ID. Product ID. Now, so we have to add their surname again, like we have done. T dot, and this one as P dot. Now, with this, we can say, okay, because we are focusing on the major transactions, so it will just be T dot star. That is everyone in the T family. These are the T families, the transaction table family. And just one member from this product table. We don't need every one of them. We just need the unit price. So that will be P dot unit. You can see it's already guessing on us. That's it. So let's run it first and see. There will be a column here. And this is the unit price has been joined. So once we have something like this, okay, I think we can now find the revenue. Now, this will take us to something called subquery. And I hope in the course of this course, we'll talk about it. It's very important. So we can turn this to a new table. We can make it behave like a table the way we will use from. Anytime you use from, that is a table. That is one of the explanation of subquery. So let me give it a space. Now, I'll now say from this entire table now, we are trying to subquery it from, we now put it in a bracket. So this is a family already. We'll close the bracket. And we can even give it a nickname. We must give it a nickname because it's not a big family. We cannot say table and let's call it A. So we'll go back here. I just hope people are not saying, hey, what are we doing now? No, this is straightforward. But I just want us to understand something. So we can say, okay, select, you can say, yeah, we can use A dot star, because now the nickname is now, what's the name? The nickname is now this. Then we can now put comma, that is for another one. If we run it like this, it will still show us the same thing. If we run it like this, it should be able to give us the same thing. So it's telling us, oh, this is a table. So we now want to add a column to it. That will be, and the column will be, we'll just open a bracket at times from the family of A, because all of them are A, whether you come from product or this thing. A dot, what was the name? Quantity, or let me first type that quantity so that I can guess everything. Quantity supply, but let me put A so that we don't get used to, we have to get used to this because we can be having other tables joining in. So it means we need to have this identity. But if you, in this case, you can still use quantity supply, but I just want us to get used to having a right tag so that we don't get confused at the end of the day. Times, what's the name? Unit price. So you can see the unit price. So let's go and add A, their new surname, to it. So now, if we have to put it as an alias to make it sing and call this revenue. Let's call this revenue. So we can now run it together and see what we had another column to it. Revenue. So you can see the revenue here now. Makes sense. So with that, we can now go ahead and say, okay, we can group by and say, okay, let's subquery again and turn this revenue as one of them. Straightforward. I'm just trying to use this subquery to so that we do it one more time for us to see. So there's a reason why I'm doing this. It can be very easy for us to trace anytime we are working on this. So we can turn this and say, okay, this is from another from these guys. Everything we have done. This is a table. We can name it anything. We can name it new transaction. But instead of naming it, we can just treat it the way we have been treating these simple tables like this from. It's still the same thing. So we'll now we'll close it here and call it probably B, in that order. So we'll now type select again. Now this time around, we now want to answer that question because our focus now is, we have not even bring in our top 10 customer, but we have addressed the issue of not saying the unit price, but we have gotten our revenue now. So we can just say, okay, let's just type star. They're still coming back to it. So we'll now type group by. Type join. Or left join, my bad. So left join customer. So you can see the customer table, and let's give it a nickname C. So C, what is common between them now? That will be on. So that will be the customer ID. You can see the customer ID here, which is also there. So the customer ID, then you say equals to customer ID. Now you need to add their family name, the family of A, the family of B now, because we have subqueried it one more time. So it will be B, because that is the alias now. And from the C, from this guy, the new family that is about to join the extended one. So that is that one. And we can say, okay, we just need B dots. And only the customer name, that will be C dot customer name. You can see it. Dot customer name. So by the time we run it, so the customer name will now appear along this list. You will see. So you can see the customer name has been appeared. I hope I've not confused people like this. So my mind is like, hey, let me finish. Question day. All right. So once we have something like this, then we can now say, okay, we want to group by. Now that's the time. Now grouping by, because we are trying to group them with respect to group by with respect to the customer name we brought in. But we need to also put the stuff here. We'll copy it. We are grouping it with respect to this guy. Now, if we do that, and here, let me see. Okay, if we do that, we should be able to know there's an aggregate function. So that should be, I'm coming, sum. Okay, before we do that, before we even group, we have to subquery it. I just know we have to subquery it again. Somebody will say, hey, subquery or not. But of course, we already have an idea of how subquery works. So you put a dash. It's not necessary, but it's very important so that we can trace. We can able to trace anytime we are debugging. So then we can now come up and said, okay, from this guy. Sorry, let me drag it down a bit. So, and the tab, and let's call this D. We already have C, so let's just call it D. Any alias work, so it's not a function of this thing. So we can just say, okay, select now, because this is already what we have. We can now say select customer name. Now we have to add the tag d dot comma, because by revenue is what we are looking for. So it will be sum. We now add our aggregate function. Remember we talked about it. So we'll say d dot. No, let me
Hi everyone, please hold on for like 5 minutes. I, please hold on for like we'll come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, okay, apologies. It's Sundays, everybody's kind of busy. Hey, I'm already seeing questions, but let's finish what we are doing. Um, I know it will look hard. Is it what I want to learn? Trust me, this thing is easy. This thing is easy. Sorry, I'm in a meeting, please. Yes. So, um, let me start sharing. Sorry about that. The network can be okay. I know there will be questions like, what are we even trying to do, Seth? But I'm just trying to create a scenario whereby can we all see my screen? I need our reactions and so on. There you go. Somebody is saying me too. But okay, can we? I just need a reaction. Can see my screen. Okay, great. Christopher, okay, Miss Faith. All right. So now and the sum of the revenue. So let's call it as total. That's the alias. Total underscore revenue. Now we want to properly use the aggregate function here. Want to declare it as okay, group by. So group by. So we are grouping it with respect to this guy, the customer name. Now, and if we run this alone now, you'll see what is going to display. So you can see the total sum of each customers now, unique customer, each one of them. But our focus is the top 10 customers. So assuming we are using Postgres, we just type limit, yeah, and order by, order by and limit. We can, okay, let's first of all use the order by. We talked about this yesterday. Order by this guy. Order by this guy. Okay, sum of this or total revenue. I think total revenue should, but let me just put it, this guy. So I have to put it in descending order. The idea is so that the biggest one will appear first, then down the loop. So by the time we run it, you will see this is the biggest one. Now we only need 10. Assume it is Postgres, like I've said, you will just type limit and you'll get whatever you want to get. But in SQL Server, you will just type select top 10. I'm correct. So, but let's see if it should work. Yes. So these are the top 10 customers. You can see this is the quest. This is the right answer. I'm even scared to read the question. Like somebody might say, I don't even know it from the beginning to the end. But let me just quickly show us. It's very straightforward. It can look because this is the first time you are doing it. It's normal. But let's quickly rush. Let's rush us through this thing. I'll start taking questions. Okay, so this is how you can do the join and the aggregate function like what we have just done now. So the last one in conclusion now, SQL functions, yes, you can use it to manipulate and even process data very well. You can use that. The expression, of course, you can use it to do whatever you want to do, maybe computation, mathematics, and some other calculations like that. Then join, you can connect multiple tables and use it to create something dynamic like we have done. And this is done, by this understanding of different join which is very crucial, especially when we are building databases. We have thousands of data, thousands of tables within a schema, and you're wondering, hey, where I want to start. You don't need to bother. Just identify the ones they want you to work on. So that is what this stuff, the join, is all about. So that'll be all for now. So let me start taking questions. I know there will be a lot of that. All right. Let me start from the chat. Okay. I'm seeing honestly. Hey, God, do. Okay. Okay, people are helping me, suggesting. Okay, we're about to start. Please, I can see it. Please, I can see anything on this. Okay, leave and join. Okay. All right. So if it is a column we are using all this formula for, it will be the column instead of bad data. I didn't get this. So, okay. Ghana for Banku. Banku funny. Banku of all food. I don't know why it skipped my mind. I don't know. And I'm just designing one food name that doesn't even exist. I'm so sorry about that. Repeat on inner join. Okay. Maybe okay, I'm reading it. So do you still want me to repeat that inner join? Miss Faith? Or let me just go through it, and I know I'll be brief. Okay, let me use this guy. Inner join is just like in set in our secondary school days or so. Intersect. You can have some circles here and another one that is coming between them. The information that is found between those two circles are the inner join. Like what we did here now, jollof. What is going to display alone is jollof rice, fufu, jollof rice, and all the information on the same row. That is what inner does. But in the case of left join, it will only focus on information from the main table and the one that has something of this. That's why I'm using a program that's an American and a mixed American that can attend, something like that. So let me just so this is what this is what we are talking about. This guy and the ones that has it. So it will show everything here and this information. So sometimes in a very large data form, if we're having a multiple data and we are just using this, you'll be seeing a lot of null data, which is normal, meaning that we still need to connect to other table in form of dimensions. Straightforward. So, okay, let me, I don't know if that inner joint is clear now. Okay. Somebody say, oh, more. Oh, okay. This is the only way because I gave up immediately after so quick. Jesus. Okay, guys. I know we have not really talked about. I just know that it's what was the name? That it's giving nested. Now, nested, that is an example, one of the type of what was the name? Subquery. The example I'm giving is a nested subquery. You are very right, Miss Iwinosa. So sorry. Okay, maybe I should just hear people's rather than just typing. Please, can we give them the mic so that they can really ask the question? I felt probably there is a way they will be able to explain it, the questions that they want to, ask. So, if anyone has question, can just raise up your hands. That's why we are here. We are trying to, understand each other. I mean, teach each other, learn from one another, and make the class as interactive as possible. So if you have any question, just raise your hand, that hand icon. It might even be the one you wrote down in the box, but probably there's a better way you can explain it, or you understand. So let's raise up our hands if we have any question. I'll do my best to answer it. Oh, am I not audible? Jesus. Because everywhere is just seem quiet, and see, there is no
You're
question that
audible.
is too
You're
big.
audible.
Somebody will say, I don't even understand. It should be to somebody that understands a part of the course and will ask question. Somebody can just say, no idea, like I understand. Okay, after watching the recording. Okay. People are saying, I've been saying that after watching the recording, but there are some questions you can just, maybe the most important thing we should focus on is the application. And that's a bit of what I'm trying to show us. Like that one is an application, the last one. So by the time you might not have, I think I just go from 1, 2, 3, and I just 1, 2, 3 to 9,044, 9,045. I know it will be, there's a lot of things in between, but still, it doesn't matter. Please feel free to ask questions, probably based on the join and all. It's quite very simple. Okay, and hey, this, can we get the data set? Okay, okay, all right. I'll try to zip the data set and probably share it to our platform. So I think our coordinator will help us to share it. Yes, of course. Of course. It's a very simple one. I will do that. Okay. You said, why didn't I sum this the revenue, this first subquery? Now, there's a reason why I create multiple nested subqueries now. Because if we are to sum it, it means that we're already, how should I put it now? It's still like a calculation. It's not really part of the entire table itself until I nested it. So the idea is that because we are still going to group it, we might not be able to group a calculation directly. It can work at times, yes, but to begin to group it directly, it can begin to, it might not be that clear. So that's why I just try to, you know, to create more, how should I put it now, to nested it to know that, okay, it's now part of the family, then we can do whatever we want to do. That is just the idea. But the most important thing, like we have said, is let's try to practice. I'll try to make sure we get the data set across, and I'll do my best, to ensure um, that if you have any questions, so I'll do my best to be more frequent in the what's the name, in the Discord. I've, I don't normally go there. That's the truth, but for your sake, I'll be okay. Okay, great. So, your next class, I think I've actually done with my section. So, Mr. Folonshaw, we continue from there, but our discussion still always continues. Every one of us on the Discord channel, we can reach out to each other. We can ask questions. So, okay, somebody say, is there any joint, like partial joint? No. It's just left, right, inner, full join, outer join, something like that. And again, I would advise us to visit that W3 schools. Like I've said, everything is there, very easy. Okay, the next, somebody is saying, okay, Miss Saidat Bakare, is it possible to join all tables we need together so that we can work? Of course, that's the essence of joining. As long as they have the same attributes, like the tables we are using, one way or the other, something is present in one table that we can link into another. So, and from there, we can join them. But the most important thing is to know which one is a major table, and the other one is an attribute that supports what we want to get. So basically, that is just that. So do we have any question again? I know there will be question by the time we are practicing it. Please, let's try. Let's feel free. Me too. Someone like me, I'm a very slow learner. But sometimes you just need to look it from a very simple perspective. That's why I said it. Go with your own pace. Visit W3 School. It's there. Go to SQL. Let me even share. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me share my screen. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Let me type W3 School. So you can see, we can even go to the SQL version here and just take you straight to it. They are it's a Norwegian freemium educational site. It's very cool. So you can do from this, everything, at least everything we're talking about, the SQL, and check on it to launch you straight to the top. And there's even an sorry, and there's even an interface where you can, where you can network access. Okay, join. You can see my screen. You can just go through it. You can even click here there's a place where you can practice. By the time you click here, you travel. And the good thing is it's even in SQL Server. So try it. There are data there. You will see the inner join, the left join, right join, full join, self join, people union, and you can go on. So this will help you properly. You can, even if you are not having your laptop with you, you can use your phone to access it. It will still give you the same result and even better. So please, so that it will be very easy and faster for you. This one the class is just to show you how it is done. But most important thing is yourself at your own pace, as your own understanding. With this AI that is available, you can even ask AI to break it down in a layman's language. It will do some justice also. So, but don't worry, I am still very much available. So always reach out and I will do my best also to respond. So do we have any more questions before we can call it? Okay, I think Madam Busola, I think you can have the floor. I guess you can have the floor. Okay, I think she's busy. All right, our coordinator is busy. Okay, thank you. All right, okay. I think from next week, by God's grace, we're having another tutor, that will continue from where I stopped. So Mr. Fallonshaw, we should be familiar with him. He'll be taking you subqueries proper. And if it's subqueries, common table expressions, and Windows function. And I've just entered us how subquery works. So it will do more justice to that to show you the types of subqueries we have. By now, you will be able to understand what I mean. And it will now take you to the stop procedure and database and all. So it's very important. Please feel free, ask questions, reach out to me. I'll do my best to answer. I think that will be all for now. Thank you everyone for your support, for your understanding. The time is always yes. But most importantly is our practice, is our commitment to practice. You can just say, okay, every day I'll give myself 1 hour. You might even say that 1 hour is too big. at a stretch, you can split it. Okay, let me do 15 minutes 4 times. 15 minutes 15 minutes, then we around that morning, then in the after towards around that noon, another 15 minutes, another 15 in 4 places. That is 1 hour. It's even better that way. Okay, somebody is asking a question. Say aside W3 school, which other site? Yeah, I think there is this one, but tutorials point. There's one called tutorials point. But I don't know, probably it has been monetized, but let me still see. Let me share my screen. The tutorials point, I think they are owned by Indians. Let me try. Tutorial, yeah, tutorials point. They are owned by Indians. So I think the last time I checked, it was um, it's kind of, I think it's kind of monetized, and I use W3 Square a lot. Some basic reminder, or even my um this thing. So see what, okay, this one, start learning SQL. Then it always shows all these formulas and the likes, how you can go about it. I think this is where I learn my tutorial. This is where I learn what was the name, Windows function. Then when it first came out, they quickly made the update. It was not on W3 screen. So quickly, it just shows. I don't know why the network is that bad. So, so that's basically. So let's just try to visit tutorials point. It's a very good platform to learn also. But I just want to see if it has open. Then I don't know why it's just loading and. So I think without wasting much of our time. Hey, data camp, yes, yes. Why do I skip data? Hey, God. So those are wonderful place. It's a very cool place to learn, and So let's take our time. Don't rush. That's the most important thing. At your own pace. Everybody has a different pace. Even in life, in things we do, it's very important you stick to your own pace and understand things the way you want to be. So thank you very much, everyone. Our discussions, like we also used to say, our discussion continues, even from the platform, from reaching out and all. So let's always feel free to always reach out. So you might not be hearing from me again, like the way I'm talking, but you can always reach out to me. I'll do my best to answer. All right. Thank you very much. So Mr. Fonshaw will take it up from next week. See him. Amazing man. Wonderful, cool, easygoing personality. So you will enjoy it, trust me. So thank you very much. Our coordinator, Busola. Okay, you see that people are beginning to share.
I'm in a noisy place.
Just
Please pardon me.
I
Yes.
get. So please even leverage on ChatGPT now. Okay, which free platform can I learn? All these things are possible now. You are good. So I think we are good now. So Busala, you have the floor. So our coordinator, okay, she says she's on. So I think that will be all. I believe that will be all. Okay, I think I'll do my best to send the data set. The videos will be available also. I will do my best to send data set in zip. So our coordinator will help us to get it across. So thank you once again, everyone, for your time. It's so nice to meet you all. once again. Thank you. Have a wonderful new week.